Hey, everybody, and welcome to our weekly show. We call it Three Broke Guys Handicapping. It's where we review one of the top racing cars from around the United States. We are going to select a 4-race sequence from that track and attempt to come to a consensus on a pick 4 ticket. Thank you for joining us. Week number 45 of the racing season. And, well, since it's horse racing and it's in the United States of America, why not go to Kentucky? Churchill Downs for the biggest racing day of the year. It's Breeders' Cup, and Twin Spires has 11 stakes races. 9 are Grade 1 Breeders' Cup races. The late pick 4 starts in race number 8, and it ends in race number 11. They are all stakes in the pick 4 on Saturday. All right, my name is Rich Sharp, and each week I'll be joined by my friends and racing analysts. It's our East Coast handicapper, and he's coming at you all the way from Staten Island, New York. Ray Torado. A year ago tonight, we were recovering from day 1 at Del Mar. How are you going to watch Breeders' Cup 2018?
Gonna be home. I should be home after a few hours in the morning, I really would have loved to be in Kentucky. We should have done it, but some issues happen. The wives having a big part of it. They tell you 1 year yes, 1 year no. So maybe another year we'll do it, and let's see what happens. But last year was great. I loved it. We were all together, and maybe another time we'll do it again.
I think that's absolutely a guarantee, because up next is our West Coast handicapper. He's coming at you from his home in Temecula, California. Ray already let the cat out of the bag. Of course, Joe was there with us last year, of course, because it wouldn't be Three Broke Guys handicapping if there were just 2 of us. Joe, how are you going to be watching Breeders' Cup 2018?
I was planning to go to Santa Anita, and I still think that's the most likely place that I will be watching the Breeders' Cup from. The other alternative is that like Ray, I will be at home, flipping between college football games in the morning and races at Churchill, intermittently, because I mean, as much as human interest stories are somewhat fascinating to some people, I'm here for gambling. So either I'll be watching the morning line on TVG, or Breeders' Cup races, or college football tomorrow.
Sounds good. I think I would take either of those. I will actually be on the highway going a little bit further past Santa Anita for a band competition tomorrow. So unfortunately, I will be viewing Breeders' Cup 2018 as I viewed some of the World Series and some other events recently in sporting on my phone. So, all right. Last week we actually didn't get together. The week before that, we were up in Canada. We were at Woodbine, and we changed our locale around and went across the border and still had no luck. We did not get out of Leg 2. So it is time for a quick weather update. It is coming at you from Louisville, Kentucky, down there where they have the Twin Spires. And except for a few afternoon clouds, supposedly it is supposed to be mainly sunny. With a high around 60, there is just a 10% chance of rain. All right. A total of 12 races, 11 stakes on tap for Saturday. For today, we are focused on the pick 4. It begins in race number 8 and concludes in race number 11. Gentlemen, this is what we wait for all year long. The gates are locked and loaded. The outriders are clear, and the starter is ready to pop the gate. It's pick 4 post time.
All right, let's do it.
I just want to know why that other race isn't a stake.
Yeah, what happened there?
What happened in that race?
I might have to ask here. Do either of you know what is the guarantee in the pick 4 for tomorrow's pick 4?
I think 2 million. I'm not sure.
Woo! All right, that was the one thing I did
last year.
Yeah, it'll. If it's 2 million, they have nothing to worry about. They will blow past 2 million.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So race 8, approximate post time is 3:36 p.m. Eastern time. Possibly as much as a $2 million guarantee in the pick 4. They are going 1 mile on the turf. It is the Breeders' Cup mile. It's a grade 1. Ironically enough, the purse is $2 million, and it's for 3-year-olds and upward. 14 starters, and your morning line favorite starts from post number 5. You're going to have to give me a little bit of room on this one because I chose to give it to Oscar Performance. The actual morning line favorite has scratched from this race, so Joe was nice enough to give us that one via text message. So I'm going to hand it over to Oscar Performance. He's 6-1 on the morning line. There's actually 3 horses that were 6-1 on the Churchill Downs Morning Line. This one, Oscar Performance, is trained by Brian Lynch and ridden by Jose Ortiz, which is what leads me to believe that he will be the eventual Morning Line favorite. And he is 6-1 on the Morning Line favorite. Among all the Breeders' Cup races, the mile has the most multiple winners. Five different horses have won the race multiple times. They are Miesk, Lure, DeHaas, Goldikova, and Wise Dan, with Goldikova being the only three-time winner of a Breeders' Cup. She actually ran third in her attempt to become the first four-time winner back in 2011. Ray, this is our fourth year of handicapping the Breeders' Cup for this show. It is actually our fifth attempt overall together as a team, and you're hitting lead off tonight. So get us started, George Springer.
All right. This is the Breeders' Cup mile, tough mile, and yes, the favorite. I have to lean towards like you guys say, number 5, Oscar Performance. He's been on our show a few times. He's been one of our horses for the last 2 years. As a 3-year-old and 4-year-old, been battling out hard. Last year we had him in the BC turf, 12 furlongs. A little too long for him. I think a mile. I think he found his calling at the mile. He's 3 for 3. Like we witnessed before, he broke the Belmont, actually the world record on a scorching Belmont turf in 131-1. And most impressively, I tell you, the Woodbine Mile, I was looking at the splits, and he said 48-3. And if you look at the next quarter, it was 111-2, which means they ran the third quarter like in like 22-4, and they came home. Check this out, 21-3. That means the last half was 44-2. So, I mean, if he goes slow, he'll go fast at the end. If he goes fast, he'll go slow at the end. But he's he's the miler, and I think at this distance he doesn't need the lead, so which is good. He can stay close and pounce, and I think he's just gonna continue to progress. And he didn't run too well in mile and a quarter, but he's at a mile and he can just run as fast as he can, or just sprint home. So he's my choice. Oscar Performance is my choice. I do like number 2, Next Shares. He had a good trip in the Shadwell Tough Mile at Keeneland. He won at 23-1. His last 2 races, he's been definitely improved. And Tyler Gaffione is riding very, very well across the country in big races. And he needs some solid pace to get up. So if there's a scorching pace, he has a chance to save ground, and he's definitely a worthy long shot for me. I do like number 7, Expert Eye. He's 8-1. He ran a nice. It's sometimes these European horses, they trick you and stuff. Like I got tricked before today on a horse from Europe. But these past performances, I try and look at the amount of money they're giving and the kind of grade they have, and just see how they finish. And he ran a good race. It was a $500,000 race, third, Longchamp, and he also ran. He ran second in the City of York race, which is actually won the City of York race. And he's progressing. To get Frankie Latoya here, he's a good. If he wins, he's gonna jump off the horse and everybody be happy. But this is a popular 3B Django also. First time Lasix, first time USA, and so he's tracked the leaders a lot of his races, so he'll definitely be in the race, and he might get a good trip here. I also like number 8, I Can Fly. She's a Philly workhorse. I noticed she hasn't stopped the beat since April. Keep running and running. She's off a 3-week layoff here. She ran second in like $1 million race there, Queen Elizabeth, and she lost by a neck facing male. So I think she should be pretty much in good shape here. She lost to Roaring Lion, who's in the Classic, trying dirt for the first time. And she should be in mid-pack and looking to make a late run, I think. And also then number 12, Analyzed It. This horse, for me, he started off his career, 3 for 3 with 3 romping wins. But as the distance got longer, he lost a few times, twice to Catholic Boy, lost to Correct in the stretch. He had the lead, got past. And maybe back to a mile might be his game. I would forgive his last race at Shadwell Tough Mile. He ran 4th. And he first race off the layoff. I'll give him a chance, second race off the layoff. He just hung. So he might be, at a distance, decoration the layoff, and Chad Brown knows what to do. So you should have a good trip there. So I'm gonna go, guys. 5, 2, 7, 8. I did have the 4 mentioned, but he scratched, so 4's out. Joe, it's up to you. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
It's a wide open race, so
well,
I went deep. I
the
tried to
one
go
thing
deep.
one thing I will add is that modern technology is wonderful. While you were talking, Ray, I had a chance to look up the Pick Four guarantee, and apropos, it is actually not 2 million; it is $3 million.
Wow.
Ooh, nice. There we go.
So,
Love
I'm gonna
it.
put a buck in this one.
so
Mm.
yeah, no, it's not like we were okay. If it's only 2 million, we weren't going to play. So because it's three,
Yeah.
I guess we'll keep going with the show, right?
Yeah.
We're in.
we're yeah. It's sort of like the
Keep
Mega
on
Millions.
rolling.
We didn't play it until it was like 1.6 billion. It wasn't worth it until then. At
I
least not
know.
for us. Anyway, enough frivolity. We're going in different directions. But the one thing I wanted to, I mean, it is obviously so wide open. Even with the 5-1 morning line favorite, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. But she scratched and 6-1. To be honest, it wouldn't shock me if you got 6. I'm guessing it's probably going to be closer to 9-2. Somebody's good. I mean, and the one thing about the Euros is they bet.
There's so much money. That's the thing.
Yeah, they will. They put money into the windows, and if they fancy one over the others, one of the I truly think that one of the Euros will probably go favorite. Not sure which one. I know Oscar Performance would be deserving if he were to go favorite, but again, like I said, the Europeans when they come, they bet. I went in a completely different direction than Ray did, so we're gonna have an interesting decision to make. I went with as my top choice was the 13, Gustav Klimt. Aidan O'Brien trains. Obviously, Ryan Moore is his go-to guy, and Ryan Moore ends up on Gustav Klimt.
All right.
And I did get a chance to, fortunately, I had a chance to watch the Prix de la Forêt, and the lacked room 1 furlong out. Yes, it absolutely was true. And when he got through, he came with a very nice rally here. Finishing fourth, beating a length and a half in a field of 16. He's getting first Lasix. He's going to get a weight break because he's a 3-year-old. I know it's a tough draw because he's going to be closer to the grandstand than he is to the inner rail. But I mean, he's winless at a mile, and he hasn't won in quite some time. But it's funny because in Breeders' Cup history, it seems as if the Euro, that's the less fancy, the horse that doesn't win as much. The horse that I remember from recent history was the horse that beat Lady Eli, Queen's something. It's funny because I liked her that day, but I can't remember the horse. It was Queen something. Dettori was on. And she was the less fancy of the European or European horses, and she ended up winning that race. So I'm taking a total stab here. Like I said, I did get a chance to go and look back at a few of these races, and I thought Gustav Klimt can, obviously stretching out from 7 furlongs to a mile. I think this horse can improve a little bit. Like I said, getting the weight break, and he was, I believe, 8-1 or actually might have been 10-1 in the morning.
10-1, yeah.
Yeah,
So
10.
he'll be. I mean, again, the Europeans bet. So if he gets bet down, if any of the Aidan O'Brien horses get bet down, obviously that's something to keep an eye on. My second choice is a horse we've seen over and over and over and over and over again on this show, and he comes out of the same race that Ray was talking about with Oscar Performance, and that's the 15. That's right, the 15. 2 AEs draw in because Polydream and Hunt scratched out. Divisadero.
Oh.
Our friend Divisadero.
Divisadero.
It's funny because I looked at that last race, and Ray mentioned the fractions that Oscar Performance set. And based on that, none of the closers had any chance in that race. The speed ran 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, or whatever it was, something like that. Basically, if you let Oscar Performance get away with 48 and change, it's like letting Heart to Heart get away with 48 and change. If you let him get away with 48 and change, you're doomed, and you know it. You're running for second. So Divisadero did not run all that bad considering that Oscar Performance basically just, like Ray was saying, the last half was in 43 and change or whatever it was. How much chance did any of the closers have in that race? He likes the course. Obviously, we know he's won the I don't know what they name it, what it's called again now, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic at Churchill on Derby Day. He's won that race 3 times. He's 3 for 4 over the course, so you know he likes it down there. You know he's won Grade 1s before. So I again, in a really wide open race, I'm taking a shot. And he's 31 in the morning line. And heck, if you're going to start a pick 4, why not start with somebody who's 30 to 1?
Why not?
Honestly, let's do it. Let's do it. So yeah. I'm gonna take a chance that he will. I mean, I'm going to assume there's going to be a little bit more pace to run at, and that he's I said, he likes the surface down there, and he's got a shot at 30 to 1. Again, don't like the draw necessarily, but because the 2 horses I liked on my first 2 choices are both closers, they're not really going to have the wide trips that other horses are going to have if they were drawn outside. Horses like Analyze It might be in a little bit over, basically just have a wide trip because he likes to be towards the front end, and he drew post 12. The other horse I like was the horse that Ray mentioned, is the 7 Expert Eye. Ran well to win the Sky Bet City of York. Did not run badly behind Recoletos in the Prix de Moulin de Longchamp. Again, Ryan Moore was on him that day. Ryan Moore takes off to go ride Gustav Klimt. And yeah, I guess that's a pretty good substitute to Tori. He's pretty good, isn't he? And the thing is, he's run well on good to soft courses before, and the turf course
was ultra soft today.
It was soft today, and I'm thinking horses. I think the European horses will have a little bit of an advantage, and I think you're either going to. Some horses are just going to hate it, and it's just you just have to hope that if you've seen the Europeans run on the soft turf courses and they've run well on it, they're probably okay. It's the horses that that haven't seen the Americans. It's funny because I look at Catapult and I'm like, okay, yeah, he was dominant out west, but it doesn't rain out here in the summertime. So I'm like, okay, I wonder if he's ever seen a soft turf course, and maybe and who knows, he might have, and he might run well, and he might win. But I'm leaning more towards the Euros in a case like this, where when the turf is boggy like that, they have the experience edge on us in that regard. So I went, like I said, I'm just going 3 deep. I went 13 Gustav Klimt, 15 De Visadero, and 7 Expert Eye. Rich?
Yeah, I actually like all those. Everything that I heard so far. I haven't got anything really dramatic to offer here. I see that Ray started off with 5-2, and one of those dramatic, just polar opposites, something like that. I'm actually 2-5. I did start off with next shares here. I guess I looked at this a little bit more as the domestics versus the Euros, and despite the fact that I saw that it was a boggy turf today, I did see some of our American buddies still able to hold. Ironically enough, this race, when we do our handicapping of the back page, which we often do here on Three Broke Guys, we'll say handicap that back page first. They've had 7 races here at Churchill Downs. If I'm not mistaken in my math, I think that means that 6 out of the 7 have gone to horses that were on or near the lead in these mile turf affairs. I'm not sure if that's going to hold true tomorrow. Again, you hear Joe talking about the bog. I watched a little bit today on my phone, and even on my phone, it looked very wet. And yet here I am in a race that's gone 6 out of 7 horses that are on the pace or need the lead. And now I'm looking towards a horse that comes from the back. So next year's really has impressed me. I know this is ironically enough for those who have ever watched this show before. I'm not a big fan of the West Coast California turf horses, and that's to say the least, which is going to blow you away when I handicap this race. But this horse has done the unusual, which is he was just okay actually out here in California. If you look at it, that's one of the ironies here is he wasn't anything special out here in California. And suddenly woke up in all places Kentucky Downs, which is, in my opinion, one of the toughest places to win a race. This is a restricted Old Friends $250,000 handicap, which probably had like a grade 2 feel. I see him rep is the second place horse in that field with 11 horses. And as you see there, he was driving past 3 wide and he cleared. I know he was the favorite that day. He had Braden Van Dyke aboard, and then he switches to really one of my favorite jockeys in America right now, and that's Tyler Gaffleone, and wins the premier fall turf race in the United States. It's the premier prep race for this particular race. And as you see there, they had some really good numbers in this particular race. First call over at 24, and he finishes up coming home in over 18. And the horse is not that far off the lead, even at the start and at the first call. So despite the fact that he's got that S up there at the very top, which indicates, he comes to the back of the pack, the horse has obviously got a lot of skill and a lot of talent. And that goes for the guy who's going to be riding him as well, which is Tyler Gaffleone. Richard Baltus is one of the best horsemen in America. They are not going to have a whole lot of connections because, of course, Tyler's an East Coast jock and Richard's a West Coast trainer. But to see them connected here for the Breeders' Cup, I thought this was worth an opportunity for me. And at 10-1, again, I was willing to wade in here at 10-1. The other horse that I put up there on my top line, I did have Oscar Performance. And again, that's based a lot on that back page. The horse has shown a lot of skill. He has the ability to sit if he needs to, or just go right up on the lead and take it if he wants to. It's Brian Lynch. It is, what I consider the single best jockey in America. So you got Jose Ortiz in there. He did win the Woodbine Mile. If you want to go ahead and draw a line to that Arlington Million where he was vanned off, Oscar Performance swings and hits every single time. So I will tell you personally for myself, I do also have Catapult on this line. And Joe, I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure if he's ever raced on a track like this. This is a horse that, ironically enough, you never see this, right? Somebody gets taken away from Chad Brown and gets waken up of all things. So, but really, my top line is really just the 2 and the 5. My advice for the horse players who have a lot of money and who have seen that this affair starts to get a little bit chalky after this one, go as deep as you can and maybe listen to someone who's looking at horses like Gustav Clinton de Visadero, because those look like big prices to me here on the morning line. So I finished up here. I just went on for 3 broke guys. I've only got the 2-5. Joe has got the 13, the 15. I thought you were just going to keep going further and further out, Joe. I thought by the end you were just going to give me somebody who was in the grand.
Fortunately,
number 41.
Remember we saw that one 29 horse race or 30 horse race in Europe a while back, but unfortunately they ran out at 16.
And Ray finished up by contributing a small donation to the Keno machine for this evening's affair. And again, I recommend going deep in this race. So Ray's got 5, 2, 7, 8, 12. All right, and I'm going to come on back to you.
Actually, Catapult right in Aqueduct, because that's like running on the rough. So you're gonna need like a pitching wedge.
Obviously, he's run on. Obviously, he's run on yielding courses before. Just not to the success he did when he ran in Southern California, where of course,
because Aqueduct they have no lawnmower.
No, I for those who are watching, he's on my B line, and I have the feeling the Catapult will end up on my personal ticket at the very least. I did like him a lot. I just did not include him here for this part. All right, we're moving along, and we're going on to race number 9, and this is a 1.1 miles on the main track. This is actually getting moved to Saturday, so this is the first time I think we're seeing this one on Saturday. It is the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. It's a grade 1. The purse is $2 million for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. 11 starters, and the morning line favorite is in post number 11, Monomoy Girl, trained by Brad Cox and ridden by Florent Giroux, 2-1 on the Churchill morning line. The race was run for the first time at the inaugural Breeders' Cup at the now closed Hollywood Park in 1984. The current distance is 1.1 miles, but from 1984 to 1987, the race was run at 1.25 miles. In 2008, to the dismay of some racing fans like us, the name of the race was changed from the Distaff to the Ladies Classic. And then in 2013, the name Distaff was restored, thank God. 11 beautiful ladies. So, of course, over to Joe English we will go.
That's pretty amusing. But actually, Rich, obviously, I know Ray knows this. Remember the Breeders' Cup used to only be one day. Yeah. So they actually ran both races, both the Distaff and the Classic on Saturday. But I'm glad it's back on Saturday, and it's an interesting idea that they did to put the 2-year-old races all on Friday.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
everything else on Saturday. You know what? It's the Breeders' Cup, so I'm going to continue to try not to play favorites because you're getting the best of the best in most the best of the best that are still running. Let's say that in most of these races. My top choice here is the 7 Midnight Bisou. And the reason I like her over Monomoy Girl is I just think for whatever reason she may be getting better as the year goes on. Monomoy, I mean, again, Monomoy Girl wins all. I mean, she's first or second every time out. But that swaying she did at Philly Park, it just kind of makes me wonder if she's really not over the top, meaning she's already run her best races for the year. And the one thing I think people don't really do is realize that horses are flesh and blood animals. They're not machines. They're not all like Winks or Frankel or Zenyatta. And Monomoy Girl has been terrific so far this year. I don't really want to knock what she's done, but just that swaying that she did that cost her the win at Philly Park. Maybe it was just a Philly Park thing, and she'll prove us wrong, or prove me wrong anyway. But again, I always like playing against favorites. I just think Midnight Bisou is going to get better, or has been getting better, and I think a couple of the races that she ran the Alabama, which I think was probably not what she wanted to do. Mile and a quarter is probably a bit too far. And she didn't run all that well that race. She got beat on the square by Midnight Bisou in the Coaching Club American Oaks. But that last race, like I said, it was the weaving that has me concerned about Monomoy Girl. So I'm going to take Midnight Bisou. Steve Asmussen took over the training earlier this year, and I don't have any problem with him. And Johnny V gets up for Mike Smith, who decided to ride Abel Tasman, and I think that's rightfully so. But again, I'll take that combination. I just think she's getting better, and I think she'll relish the distance, and she'll be fine tomorrow. But underneath, actually, well, I guess I'm not sure if you'd call it underneath, but my second choice is the 1 Champagne Problems. She comes off a nice race in the Spinster. She's run 9 times at Churchill, so she's the local horse. She's only won once, and she finished second behind Blue Prize in the last couple of races. But the one advantage I think she gets, and it showed that the race that she finished second. Calvin Burrell, he likes the rail. We all know that, and of course the fact that this horse drew the rail makes it almost perfect. It's symmetry. It's like, okay, well, he doesn't have any work to do. All he has to do is get out of the gate and ride the pine like he usually does. And if there's any rail bias, he's going to take advantage of it, which he usually does. I think this horse there's enough pace in the race that Champagne Problems with her closing kick will do just fine. I don't think the 1 1/8 is too far. She obviously showed that she could run pretty well last time, finishing behind Blue Prize, who also kind of drifted in and out of the stretch through that last race. And again, drawing the rail, she's in the best form she's ever been in. And you're going to take a shot. You're going to get 12-1. My guess is you might even get more than 12-1. You might get closer to 15 or 20. So Champagne Problems is my second choice. And the other horse I'm going to use is the 3, La Force. Coming from the West Coast, she's been running behind the likes of Vale Dory and Unique Bella and Fault at Santa Anita and Del Mar, and especially the races at Santa Anita. Santa Anita's never been known, or never will be known, as a closer's track. When a horse like this, who closes ground on a track like Santa Anita, where the speed has all the advantages, and again, Vale Dory had a nice trip the last time, got to lead in front, and held off La Force at 1 1/16. When a horse gets off a track that's basically meant for speed, or gives speed all the advantages, and they go to a track like Churchill Downs, which may be a little bit kinder to the closers, I take notice, and I'm going to take 20-1 with one of the best young jockeys in the world, Drayden Van Dyke. Patty Gallagher's, obviously the horse has been running well in grade 1s at Santa Anita and Del Mar. And if there's a time that she's going to wake up, I'm assuming they're hoping that it's tomorrow. Again, she's only won twice. She's run second 7 times. And to be honest, I would really love to use her underneath. She would be one of the horses, like if I were to play a super high five or a try or a super, she would definitely be on the ticket in the underneath spots. But I'm going to take a chance that maybe even she wakes up, not wakes up, because she's in good form. She just happens to get a track that's more suited to the style that she likes to run. And with enough pace in the race, maybe she's the one who closes down the middle and gets up late to win. So I went with 7 Midnight Bisou, the 1 Champagne Problems, and the 3 La Force in the Breeders' Cup. And I'll say it for you, Rich, the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Ray, I'm going to guess you have a different opinion.
Yeah, I'm using one of your horses. I have a couple other horses I have here too. Yeah. Well, my top choice is Mama Girl. I mean, she's the leader of the division. She's necking a DQ from perfect 10 races, and she got to take it down to Cotillion. Giroux got to take it down. So, well, she should be checking the leaders, and I'm using her. I'm not, really looking to single her because this is the Breeders' Cup, and this is the first time facing all the horses, and that's always a concern. And like you said, she might be over the top and things like that. So, but I am using her. But I do like other horses who have a good chance of actually who have been running against her also. So my second choice is Wildcat, number 9. Chad Brown got her from Chile. She came here, 8 for 8. Whatever she was running against down there.
Oh,
But
there we go.
anyways, 3 races here, she hasn't done. I mean, she's run pretty well. I mean, she was second to Farrell in the Shuvi, third in the Personal Ensign, losing to Abel Tasman and Elate, and she won the Beldane against an average field. So, she found her winning ways, and she could improve. She got Jose Ortiz. She's got Chad Brown, the trainer. So 8-1. I mean, if they're gonna bet, Mama Girl heavily, this horse could stay at that price, and that'll be I find that a very tempting price for this horse, who has shown to be like a winning machine. 9 out of 11 is not too shabby. So um, I'll definitely try and use her on my ticket. I do like number 5, Won the Godot, 15-1. She was second in the Oaks to Miami Girl. She beat the boys twice in the Canadian Triple Crown events. She faltered in the Travers. What's going to happen? Maybe the distance, mile and a quarter. She was in the race for the most part. Fought by 5, and she just packed it in. But coming off that Triple Crown series and going to Fort Erie and stuff, and Woodbine, she probably just had a bad day, and trying to get some good horses. Of course, the Travers, Grade 1. You got the Catholic Boy Mendelssohn. They're all in the classics, so she just couldn't handle those horses, and she ran a decent third in the Cotillion. You know, for Mama Girl and Midnight Basui. 10 lengths. It's I mean, she was in the race also 4x5 for second call, so I'd be willing to give her a chance at 15-1. With I Ride Ortiz and Mark Cassie. So, and I'm also going to use 7 Midnight Basui. 5 wins, 3 seconds, 3 times losing to Mama Girl. So, but any slip by her puts this horse in the race too. So, I like to switch. Giant V is one of my favorite jockeys. So, Mike Smith's no slouch, but they're both competitive, and this is how it is. Breeders' Cup, and you can get some good prices and some good horses. So, I'll go 11-9-5-7, hoping that my back 3 horses run very well and spike up to pick 4. Rich.
Ah,
No.
I was stuck here in this race. The favorite is just so darn good. Joe mentioned some of the horses that maybe you would hear her mention in the same breath with, and although I agree, maybe not, she deserves to be mentioned in that same breath, but as a 3-year-old, she's been a bit of almost like an engine. She fires every single time. I understand what Joe was saying. She did stagger a little bit that last time in the Cotillion. That's what cost her the race. It happens. It happens to the best of them. I don't think it's going to happen twice in a row. I just don't feel that happening twice in a row to her. And she has been so darn good. And Florin Giroux and her are just like magical together. I just can't leave her off my ticket. And I couldn't put her at the top because I really did like Midnight Bisou. It's funny. I ended up, it's late on Friday night. If I need a snack, I'd go to 7-Eleven. And that's what I'm probably going to do here is I'm just going to go 7-Eleven. But I thought the 7 here, Joe, you caught it at the very, very end. You were talking about this horse, and then you brought up Steve Asmussen. So this horse was being traded, and Bill Spar is a fabulous horse person. He was out here on this horse was out here on the West Coast and was doing fantastic, and then got shipped over to Steve Asmussen's barn. Has got Mike Smith aboard for those races, and something seemed to have clicked with the trainer horse connection over there. And again, Asmussen's an excellent horseman. I think he's got the second biggest barn in America behind Pletcher. He's just got a ton of horses to work with, and he's an excellent horseman. He really does know what he's doing. And in this case, it looks like he's got a really nice filly, and apparently he's found a suitable replacement jockey for Mike Smith. I'm not really sure who this guy is, but he looks like he's fairly talented to me.
It's John something.
Yeah, John somebody or other.
Yeah, John.
Little Puerto Rican guy. So I just stopped at the 7-Eleven. I initially had intended to bring in, one of the Silver Fox's horses, but I just cannot explain what happened in that last race other than the bobbled and off a bit slow. But again, in a 6-horse field to finish 5th, that was one of the biggest upsets of the year, considering that even the bridge jumpers got taken out when Abel Tasman finished 5th in a 6-horse field. So I'm just going to go 7-Eleven in that race. Again, I think if you go deeper in that first leg, this is where you start to see some of the chalky horses. So I just went 7-Eleven. I believe Ray, who went before me there, had 11, 9, 5, 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Joe started off with 7, 1, 3.
So none of the even numbered horses can do squat.
Yeah,
otherwise wear out. Leg 2.
Leg 2.
I'm a better pick 4 with the even numbered horses just to cover
Rewind
myself.
everything. Leg 2. Oh, let's move on.
There we go. If you've never watched this show before, that's our little bugaboo is leg 2.
Yeah, leg 2. Yeah.
See, we need the Breeders' Cup turf to have been leg 2.
I certainly would have made it.
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
We are on to race number 10. And here we go. On to the aforementioned Breeders' Cup turf. It is 1.5 miles on the turf. It is the Longines Breeders' Cup turf. Grade 1. Purse is $4 million for 3-year-olds and upward. 13 starters, and the morning line favorite is in post number 2. It's a scary monster from across the pond named Enable, trained by John Godston and ridden by Frankie Dettori, and she is your even money morning line favorite under Twin Spires. The forerunner for this race was the Washington, D.C. International Stakes at Laurel Park. Inaugurated in 1952, it was raced on turf at 1.5 miles and drew the best horses from North America and Europe. A winner of this race, the American legend Kelso, albeit it was on his 4th attempt, after being second 3 times in a row. All right, Ray. We don't need second. Just tell us who the winner of the BC Turf is. Please enable us.
Well, I guess last year she didn't make it here. They've been talking about this horse forever. And now I see why. 9 for 11, 9 for 10 actually. $8 million made. She won the Prix Tour, the Arc de Triomphe twice. I see she has a light schedule this year, so I guess this will enable her to make it across to Churchill Downs. We can see her finally run. She had an 11-month layoff. Don't really know why, but it's just first time Lasix, first time USA. Enables here 1-to-1 on a field like this. I gotta tell you, I'm impressed. So she's my top pick. I could single her. I'm not sure. It's a tough field to do that. But I do like one more horse on my ticket. It will be number 4, Robert Bruce. I think this horse, we've found this horse. Chad Brown got this horse from Chile again, undefeated. I think he came here 6 for 6, and won the 4 Marcy. He was racing in New York, and Arlington Million he won. So bad trip in Manhattan. That was a scorching race. I remember that was the race that I remember we did a sit in the Belmont day. But 6 by 1. I remember his horse was coming and just had a bad trip, and I saw him coming. I had him, but that's life. But then finished second in the Turf Classic on a very soft turf course. Chowmaker won the race on the lead on Darling Fractions. So whenever had that happened, these horses gonna draw away. But still came in second. So Robert Bruce for me, 10-1, 10-1 on probably one of my you know that could be second choice, third choice. You got some big horses. I mean, I'm happy to see High Happy 20-1. Gotta mention him. You gotta mention Silas Joy, our favorite horse, 30-1. I mean, wow. I mean, does this inflate the odds? Yeah, I mean, if we play these horses, it's gonna be like jackpot. So, but for me, 2-4, I'm comfortable with 2-4, and let's try and move on here. Joe, it's a tough race, but Enable's here.
Well,
Enable is here.
yeah, she's here. But if history is any indicator, race 3 of this pick 4 won't matter to us because we will already have been eliminated by them.
We're breaking a double. Double.
Such an optimist.
So, well, hey, Rich, are they offering a pick 4 on races 8, 10, and 11? Because maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do a pick 3 or something like that. Either that or and to be honest, let me see. I didn't check, but I'm going to. Okay, here's the other alternative, and I'll just throw it out there. There's a pick 4 on races 9, 10, 11, 12. So if we wanted to do a pick 4 where Enable was the second leg, we could do it. Now there's no guarantee in it, but anyway, I just figured I'm throwing it out there. But in all honesty, she's not my top choice. And yeah, I know I get it. And yeah, my Twitter handle, everybody knows it. You can find me anywhere on social media. That's fine. I'm going with a horse that we know can win over here because he did it last year. I'm going with the horse inside of Enable, and that's the 1, Talismanic. We know that he was able to adapt to American racing. And the funny part is, if you look, I'm looking at the screen where Rich has Talismanic up. He didn't have Lasix that day. He doesn't have Lasix again today either. I mean, I guess I know it's just commonplace for all the European horses to come over here and run on Lasix because it's necessary, or because they all do it. Yeah. But I just wonder if Enable is so fantastic, why? Why do they need to put her on Lasix? If she, I mean, again, and she could win by the length of the stretch. She could run like newspaper. The horse's name is Newspaper of Record. Yeah. That won earlier today, and she could easily win. 9, 10 lengths, whatever. She could put it on a show the likes we rarely see. But I just don't understand why they need to put Lasix on. Talismanic doesn't need the Lasix. He ran last year at Del Mar in this very race at 14-1, and he beat horses like Beach Patrol and Highland Reel. Highland Reel was a former winner of this race, and I see that he ran in the Arc, and the race wasn't all that great, and that's all well and good. The one, like I said, I'm going back on the experience. He's been able to run well in races prior to the Breeders' Cup. He ran third in the race before the Breeders' Cup last year. He was second in the same race 2 races back. And if you forget the 2 runs in the Arc and the Dubai World Cup, he hasn't missed the board in 2 years. He drew the rail. This is not impossible for him to beat Enable. I'm going to take a shot. He's 12-1. And again, based on the fact that everybody's betting Enable, that might even rise up to 15-1. So I'm going to take a shot with Talismanic, the inside draw, just like he had last year. First race, race here, no Lasix. I'll take the shot. And if he pays 14-1 again and he wins, again, given that we're still alive in the ticket, I'd rather have him win than Enable that 3-5 or whatever it is. And funny. Enable's not my second choice either. Second choice, I'm using the 3 Channel Maker, who has become a really, really nice horse. And if you look at his last 2 soft track races, they're wins, and they're really impressive wins. Actually, he dead heated with Glorious Empire 3 back when Glorious Empire basically had it all his own way on the front end, and he was able to close ground and dead heat with him for the win. He couldn't beat him on the fast track, couldn't beat Glorious Empire on the fast track, but then came back in the Turf Classic and decided to take the race right to Glorious Empire and beat him on the square by 4.5 lengths. So obviously he's turned into a really darn good horse, and I'll take that Jose Ortiz kid. I think he's pretty good too, from what I hear. He's obviously won at 1.5 miles a couple of times, and the other thing I like about him is if the break doesn't necessarily go well, he can sit off of Glorious Empire. He can take the race to Glorious Empire and beat him in his own game. And the other thing is because he's got speed, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage on Enable. He will probably be the horse, I would expect. He would be the horse in front as they turn for home. Now, whether Enable if Enable should be able to run him down if she's the beast that everybody says she is. But again, he's 12-1 on the morning line. I'll take a shot with that as well. And I can't not use Enable. I don't need to go into any more superlatives than Ray's already talked about. Apparently, everybody says they were actually pointing for this race, and the arc was just a stop on the schedule, which necessitates that necessity exactly.
It's a workout.
But the thing about it is, the thing about the arc was, and it's true, it was only her second start off the layoff. But if that race was another, 10 feet, 12 feet, Sea of Class would have beat her that day. So maybe she wasn't necessarily at her best on that day. And if she's at her best tomorrow, even money might be, as Ed Bergart likes to say, even money might be a gift. So you have to use her. But again, this is the Breeders' Cup. I've seen Arkong win at $230. The horse paid $230 to win. I've seen massive upsets before. I've seen horses from Europe come over who were unbeatable in file, and they get beat. So, this is the best of the best, and I'd rather take 2 12-1 shots than an even money shot any day of the week. So for me, the choices were 1 Talismanic, 3 Channel Maker, and then the Super Filly, number 2 Enable. Rich?
Yeah, strangely enough, this race reminded me, and Ray, this reminded me a little bit of a couple of years ago, and I believe the horse's name was, it wasn't Hunting Horn because I saw him today. I think it was Golden Horn.
Golden Horn.
Right, who had also just won the Arc, right?
And found beater.
Found beater, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So
that was the day we were talking to that guy about the first time Lasix angle.
First time Lasix, yep, exactly. And so we were down to Elmore, and so this race it just had a similar feeling to it. Of, boy, here's this Arc winner coming over that everybody's talking about, and everybody's talking about as a super horse like that, and yet. I did the same thing you guys did. I was unwilling to leave her off my ticket. She has, again, Ray covered all the superlatives on that horse, so I'm not going to go into it. So I am going to go into the horse that I think has a chance of beating her. Finished about approximately 2 lengths back in the Arc. It's Waldgeist, trained by Andre Fabre. He's a very good trainer overseas. I'm not sure about the jockey, but again, trusting Andre Fabre. I don't know Charles Pierre Boudoir. But I would imagine he's a very talented rider. The horse had won 4 in a row going into the Arc, and was one of the horses that I woke up on, dawn that morning to watch those races and things like that. And it was one of the horses that they were talking about going into the gate that day. And so I did throw a couple of ducats, a couple of shillings went down on Waldgeist just based on the information that was coming off the television at that day. And so I thought today, maybe just finishing 2 lanes back in a 19-horse field of Enabled, hoping that possibly the same thing that we saw with Golden Horn a couple of years ago is that there's another European horse that's going to come over. One of the other things I was going to ask about is, because I know I've got my pedigree expert on here, is who the heck is Nathaniel? I have never heard of the horse that is the sire for Enable. I've definitely heard of Talismanic.
You see average winning distance 10.9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like pretty much any other.
That's miles.
Yeah, basically. No, yeah. Basically,
Wow.
I've heard of him, not very much. I don't think he was in. I don't think he raced very long.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Galileo, I remember. Yeah, Galileo.
And that's the thing.
I think he might have been like undefeated, but he only might have run like 4 or 5 times.
So, and that's
quite a few years. It was probably late 2000s, maybe the early part of this decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
he's a son of Galileo.
I never seen his name. Yeah.
He's a son of Galileo, and I was like, well, I haven't heard of that horse. But
everybody what Galileo is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
So and that was what I bet on. So I looked a little bit more for the pedigree angle here. I did, Joe. I liked yours because obviously Talismanic with the 1 has Magdaglio d'Oro on there. And I'm not about to throw out the super the horse that looks just so impressive there. I agree. Probably would have lost the race if I had gone a little bit longer. But Enable certainly looks like the real deal. And considering that this is third off the layoff, and now that Joe has told me that this is the race that she was actually pointed to in the first place, just makes me more concerned about her. I'm just going to stop with 2 here. So I've got the 12 as my top pick, and I've got the 2 as my on the top line there. I believe Joe, you went before I did there, and you've got the 1 as your top pick.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the 3, and you've also got the 2. And Ray, you kicked us off there in the leg, and you've got the 2 as your top pick with the 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I am coming on back to you guys.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
I want you to do the class. I want you to be first to do the classic, just for fun.
All right. There we go. I will gladly take that one. All right, and we are moving on to race number 11. It's the reason that we're all here. It's a mile and a quarter. It is the Breeders' Cup Classic. Grade 1, purse $6 million for 3-year-olds and upward. 14 starters, and your morning line favorite is going to start from post number 14. It's Accelerate, trained by John Sadler and ridden by Joel Rosario. 5-2 on the Churchill Downs morning line. There's so many great stories involving the Classic that I'd recommend anyone interested get out there and just wiki the topic, because if I start talking about it, I'll get all choked up, and then I won't be able to continue on. I definitely won't be able to kick that off. I will share that Joe, Ray, and I have seen, well, we've actually seen 2 of the last 5 Breeders' Cups, with Bayern winning in 2014 at Santa Anita, and then Gunrunner taking last year's edition at Del Mar. And I will tell you both that both of those days are racing memories and their highlights, and I have a feeling they're going to be with me for the rest of my life. All right, Joe, you were going to be taking us home in the Classic, but instead I am going to kick us off here in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And believe it or not, I did not go with the favorite here. I should have brought the bobblehead doll out, but ironically enough, you guys, have you ever seen us do a show? Has there ever been a version of Three Broke Guys Handicapping, basically at any track, where there was no favorite that involved either Bob Baffert, Chad Brown, or Todd Pletcher?
I'm sure maybe like I'm trying to remember, like maybe the Charlestown Classic.
I was thinking maybe Los Alamitos
or something.
Something like that. But this is still for a big breeder, for a big day and things like that. I couldn't believe it. I split my check mark, so you know what? I'll go over there for the fans who haven't seen them before and that, and I will go ahead and bring them out just so you can see him here and things like that. Here he is. So here's Bob. He sits over on my shelf. So does Todd Pletcher, and actually so did Chad Brown. So, but I did split my check marks tonight. I went with the Silver Fox, and let me bring up my racing form for you here, and I'll show you what I was looking at. First of all, the first thing I looked at was the fact that Accelerate didn't exactly get the best draw. He is kind of marooned out there in post number 14. I know that will keep him clear a lot of the traffic that's there and things like that, but I don't think that McKinsey and West Coast, as far as the tag team Baffert, if you like, I'm thinking back to our WWF days, and Baffert's got a pair with somebody waiting to tag in for him and like that. I mean, one of these horses got Mike Smith aboard. That's McKinsey here. That horse earlier this year was, well, that was Justify before we ever knew who Justify was. McKinsey was number 1 on the board for the Kentucky Derby out here in the West Coast before we found out that there was a Triple Crown winner who was waiting to come on and just wow us all. So that was McKinsey. He got injured and sat on the shelf from March all the way through September 22nd, and then came back and paid 2-1, winning on Pennsylvania Derby Day, beating a nice field there. It was a field of 9. And as a 3-year-old, I would think that he would represent right now the field of the 3-year-olds who are maturing. He wasn't my top 2 out of the 2 Baffert picks. I actually like West Coast just a little bit better. This horse did finish second to Gunrunner last year in the Pegasus World Cup Classic. He finished third to Gunrunner last year in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Came back, at Maidan in Dubai, had a decent second place finish, got beaten by Thunder Snow, and Thunder Snow is in this race, so I'm aware of that. And then comes back off another layoff from March all the way through September. So that's a 6-month layoff. And then comes back and finishes second to Accelerate once again. That's in the Awesome again. That's the prep race for the Breeders' Cup out here on the West Coast. And I bet West Coast that day, even though Accelerate was in that race. It was only a 6-horse field. So again, Accelerate wasn't dealing with any kind of the troubles that he's going to be dealing with tomorrow with a 14-horse field of fantastic runners inside of him. And so I'm just kind of betting or kind of hoping here in this particular case that Accelerate does not get the perfect trip, that he's not the horse that everybody is saying that he is. And so I went 6-7. I do have, I'm not naive. I'm not about to get knocked out of the pick 4 here on this day by a top horse. So I do have the 14. I'm assuming either Ray or Joe will tell you all about Accelerate, but I started with the 6 and the 7. And Joe, you were going to kick it off, so I will kick it over to you, my friend.
Okay. It's funny, Rich. You mentioned the person. I'm like, gee, $6 million. That's it. The World Cup is like 10. The Pegasus World Cup is 12. What is? Why are we betting on this race? 6 million? 6? That's it? Come on.
You gotta start skipping the race.
You're gonna use the Breeders' Cup as a prep.
Yeah,
for the Pegasus World Cup. I mean, seriously, is that where we're going with this? I can't. It's funny because it makes you wonder. Like, will they ever raise the purse of this race? Because they've raised the purses on all the other races. Because the turf never used to. The turf was $2 million at best. Now it's up to 4, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Can we put 10 in the classic? Maybe let's bump it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rich, it's funny. I saw a tweet earlier today. Somebody said, if you draw post 14 in the Derby, everybody's excited and happy, and it's great. You draw post 14 in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and you're marooned, and it's a horrible draw. So I'm not sure exactly which one is actually right, but obviously only one of them can be right. But I'm not going to be the one to tell you about Accelerate. I'm going to tell you about 3 other horses that I'm going to use before I would use Accelerate. My top choice, and Rich, you know me as more of a pedigree guy, and I know Ray's going to be looking at me like, are you kidding me? You really think this horse is going to get 1.25 miles? But I'm going there. I'm going with the 11. Mind Your Biscuits. And yes, Ray, I know Posse probably couldn't get 1.25 miles if he was in the back of a van. He probably couldn't run 1.25 miles.
He's on my ticket.
Yeah,
he's on my ticket.
He should.
Yeah.
Posse or Mind Your Biscuits.
Yeah, I'm looking Posse.
Because otherwise, I'm going to be fitted for a straitjacket. No. Mind Your Biscuits has been. This to me is a sign of a quality horse. They talk about horses who won from 5 furlongs to so and such a distance. This horse has won from 6 furlongs to 1.8 miles, and he's run. Look at the last 4 races. If you look at just those 4, the Dubai Golden Shaheen at 6 furlongs, he won from behind, beating speedsters that XY Jet would have been in the sprint, and Roy is in the sprint. He ran second in a phenomenal effort to B Jersey, and to this day, that ride by Ricardo Santana B Jersey was one of the best rides I've seen this year, and he barely got beat at 1 mile. Then he ran up against Diversify in the Whitney, and
nobody was going to beat him.
Nobody was going to beat Diversify that day. He ran. He barely beat Discreet Lover, but Discreet Lover went on to beat other horses at like some ridiculous price, 45-1 in the Jockey Club next time out.
That's true.
And Mind Your Biscuits obviously went on to run a prep race. I mean, he was 6-5 in the Lucas Classic at Grade 3. Obviously, that wasn't necessarily anything more than a spot to get him ready for this spot. But I think he's a quality horse. I think he can win at just about any distance if he's right. And I'm going to take the chance that Chad Summers, I think, might have one or two horses in his barn, yet the owners keep this horse with Chad Summers. I'm going to, and I know Rich likes Tyler Gaffleone, and Tyler Gaffleone stays aboard. I'm going to take a chance that he's going to get that mile. He's going to get the 1.25 miles, and I'll take him at 6-1 in a field that, if you, other than Accelerated 5-2, I'm not sure. Is there any West Coast is West Coast 5-1?
5-1.
5-1.
Is he like the second choice at 5-1? So other than Accelerate, he'd be one of the morning line favorites in this race. Like I said, the biggest concern is whether he can get a 1.25 miles. But he's obviously shown that he can relax well enough to get 1 1/8 miles. Another furlong. He's a quality horse. I think he can do it. Second choice for me is a horse that got beat by Discreet Lover last time, and that's Thunder Snow. He's going to be more forwardly placed. This is his third start off the layoff, and if he can get better, he's got a shot. He'll be saving ground. I don't think the mile. We've seen the 1.25 miles is not an issue for him. He's won on dirt before. He's never finished out of the exacta on dirt before, and obviously Christophe Soumillon rode him well enough to win. He just happened to get beat by Discreet Lover late, and that race was the race that Diversify set a wicked pace, and Mendelssohn was right behind him. And Mendelssohn actually ran pretty well that day too.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to take the chance that Thundersnow is going to save ground. He likes running on dirt. 1.25 miles is not an issue for him, and he's 12-1 on the morning line. And my third choice, and this will be this, if it totally breaks down, I think if the pace is hot and it totally breaks down, I think Gunnevara has a really good shot to, if not win the race, he'll probably be underneath. Going off that race he ran in the Woodward, he was the PP say 4 to 6 wide turns, the 10 path at the quarter path, and I watched the race. That's being kind, I think, as far as the where he was probably in the 12 or 13 path turning from home that day. Unfortunately, that's his style. He comes from behind, and in a big field like that, he's gonna end up in situations like that. But he also drew outside in the Woodward. He was drawing a post 9, so he was wider on the first turn. He drove post 4 today. So I don't think the first turn issue is going to be a problem. Again, he's going to have to make a wide rally. But I think they've been pointing for this race. He's fresh. He's got the late kick. So if it falls apart, he's going to be coming late. We saw it in the Travers a couple years ago when he got beat by West Coast. He made a run of it that day at Saratoga. And we've seen it. We saw it in Florida. Excuse me. He can close. And again, if the pace happens to fall apart, I think he's going to be one of the ones motoring down the lane, and he might be closer to the outer rail than he is to the inner rail. But we've seen that that's not really an issue for him. So in this race, I went 11 Mind Your Biscuits over 1 Thunder Snow and 4 Gunnevara, and he's 20-1 in the morning line. So 11-1-4 for me in the only $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic, Ray.
Well, I have actually some of Rich horses and some of your horses. So we're in agreement here. It's a good race. I gotta say, it's just you have the best here, the best of the best. The horses trying new things, and you have Baffert. I gotta tell you, big races. How he's gonna be there, and I'm going with you, Rich. I don't know if you were 6'7", 7'6", but I'm 7'6", so I like West Coast. I think he'll be able to improve off his second layoff. He was a good third last year. He was steadied. He went to Dubai, rested. Don't know his schedule, but he'll probably be classic in Pegasus, and he might just call it a career. But Baffert gets Giant V, Smith gets McKenzie. So they're gonna be very close. They're gonna be in the stretch battling it out. West Coast. McKenzie also lightweight 3-year-old. He's 4 for 5 lifetime. Mike Smith stays. The last sentiment to his horse too. The gentleman McKenzie passing away. He's been working like an animal, and that's what Baffert likes to do. Put these horses, push them in the workouts. Make them men. And when you run horses hard, they run hard, and I'm a firm believer in that. So he's gonna be in the race too. I do like your horse, Joe. Mind the biscuits. I look at the form and the way he got that 9 furlongs. Gives me a very good reason he'll get the distance, and he's got a good running style. He can lay close. I was there for that mile, and that horse was coming, man. He was charging. He passed the screen like had to blink. He was coming hard. He just lost by a whisker. I was hoping he would get up too, but uh, he did that day. But and like you say, he's won at 6 furlongs, a mile, and it reminds me of a horse like Precisionist who did that. Precisionist was a great horse, and good horses can do that. They can get the small distance, the big distance, and it's about time he gets his shot. And I'm very happy he's in this race because he could be in a sprint. And, no problem. He'd probably get up and win, whatever could come close.
Dirt
But
mile.
give dirt mile, but give him a shot for this. For this for his resume. And I think he's gonna be very close. He's gonna get a good run too. He's gonna have a very good run. And one more horse I want to mention was 3 Catholic Boy. Dirt or turf. I gotta tell you, his horse is tough. He won his last 3. He's been smacking, analyzed it a few times, and he's maturing. He's always in a race. Winners are 6 of 9. You got Castellano, who we haven't mentioned it, most of the show, and he could surprise 8-1. Catholic Boy coming off the Travers layoff. It's been done before, so he's gonna be in there too. So I'm gonna go 7-6-11-3. And I like your point about Gunnevera too, Joe. I mean Gunnevera. He's he's a closer, and he could be coming too. And Churchill's a wide track, so for him being wide, shouldn't be too much of a factor. He'll get that nice saving ground. And you see a lot of horses close at Churchill Downs going 10 furlongs, so watch out for him too. Yeah, I agree. Rich. No, we're done. Rich rate percentage. We're done.
There's a twist. I threw the 14 in as my last track, and I was the only one that actually even had accelerated there. So I've got
I don't
7.
Like no, I'm not a big fan of him. No.
I've got 7-6-14. Yeah. As you heard, Ray just went before me. So Ray's got 7-6-11-3.
Yeah.
And Joe went 11-1-4.
You say we might talk about accelerate? We didn't.
Well,
it's
funny.
I just don't like him.
I'm kind of on the fence. I don't hate him, but Sadler's horses just. I mean, he just has not done. He's 0-for-41 in the Breeders' Cup to this point.
Oh wow!
And it's. Heck, even Bobby Frankel had. I mean, it's funny because Ray, do you remember who Bobby Frankel's first Breeders' Cup winner was? I do. I actually do.
No, I can't remember.
I'm guessing you would have nobody unless you absolutely remember it. You wouldn't know. Squirtle Squirt.
The sprinter.
In the sprint.
The sprinter, yeah.
That was his first Breeders' Cup win, and he was like 0-for-50 some odd. So obviously, it's not a knock on Sadler as a trainer.
No, it just happens. Yeah.
He just hasn't gotten it. I mean, his horses just haven't gotten it done. And the sad part is a lot of the breeders run in his backyard in Southern California.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't gotten it done.
Pletcher had struggled for a while, a long time. Pletcher, yeah.
Well, Pletcher in the Derby was 0 for however until was a Super Saver, right? So, I mean, like to take a short price on a horse that is drawn wide for a barn that hasn't done it on Breeders' Cup Day yet is why I kind of shied away from it. If you wanted my opinion, that's what I.
Yeah, me too. That post. Look at California Crump, post 13. Yeah, he was moon out there, finished third. So
Again, 13
it's hard.
Classic is terrible. 13 in the Derby is fine.
Yeah.
It's the same track. Same.
Yeah. Every inch matters in these races, man. It's so close.
Yeah,
every inch.
And to be honest, you're right, Ray. This Breeders' Cup, there are probably 7 or 8 of them that if you tell me they won, it wouldn't shock me. It's which is why I'm kind of surprised that Accelerate is 5-2, and then the next closest horse is 5-1. I would have thought it would have been a little bit 5-2, maybe 7-2, 9-2, something like at least one in between there. But again, he is the most accomplished. I can't knock
definitely.
Can't knock what he's done on the track. It's just his barn's been ice cold on Breeders' Cup Day, and I guess until it happens, you're not going to take a short price on it.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
You can.
All right. Well, there it is. Let's see. I've got in leg 1. Oh, wait a minute! I'm cutting off all the views here.
I've got like what?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got in leg 1. I've got the 5, the 13, the 2, and the 7. So let's see here. The 5 was Ray's top pick, and actually had some consensus because I had the 5 as my backup pick down there, and the 13 is Joe's top pick. The 2, Ray, you've also got the 2 on your top line, which matched up with me, and the 7, Ray, you matched that 7 up with Joe. So 5, 13, 2, 7. In the second leg, we've got the 11, 7, and the 5. Ray, the 11 is your top pick. The 7 is both Joe and I's top pick, it looks like there. And the 5, Ray, you matched up the 5 with me. That's how we got that one on there. 11, 7, and the 5. So it turns out, ironically enough, Ray and I both get the 3 of our picks in there. All right. Leg 3 is 2, 1, 12. Ray, you've got the 2. Joe, you've got the 1. I've got the 12, and Ray, you and I and Joe, we all have the 2. So everybody's on the 2. And in the final leg there, we've got accelerators out. So we've got the 7, the 11, and the 6. Ray, you've got the 7 as your top pick. So do I. So me and Ray both have the 7. We both had the 6 in there as well. So the 6 got on there. And Joe, you've got the 11 as your top pick. And none of us were able to match up anything else. What is that?
And being that it's Breeders' Cup and it's this wide open, I'm not going to play with it. Let's just say, okay, it is what it is. So we got 12.
54?
54.
Yeah, 54. Not bad.
Huh.
9 by 12. Oh, wait, cut it in half.
And we didn't even go too late over for those of you who stuck around with us. We only went about 15 minutes over, but we do. If you did hang in there with us, we do appreciate that because we understand Breeders' Cup is a little bit of a long night.
And be honest, folks, if you stuck with us, you know to just toss our horses in leg 2 and go your own way. If you want, use our horses in legs 1, 3, and 4, and then you figure out leg 2 on your own.
Confidence. There we go. Confidence. All right. For those of you who watched and hung in there with us even about 15 minutes late, thank you for doing that because again, Breeders' Cup is it's our Super Bowl. So that's the way that we look at it, and I appreciate you hanging in there with us for 15 more minutes. For those of you watching, if you enjoyed the show, well, we're probably not going to be back next week. This is the one week I can tell you that even the 3 broke guys actually take off. It's kind of like racing has a hangover the week after the Breeders' Cup. There's not even all that good of a racing card out there. But we will get together in 2 more weeks from tonight. I'm not sure where that will be, but I promise you it will be a good racetrack, probably the best racing card in America. All right, gentlemen, that's all the time we have for tonight. It is always a pleasure to handicap with the 2 of you.
Yes, always a pleasure. And I wish we were together.
I was going to say, it's much better when we got to do this last year. We did it together.
Yeah. Yep. But, we'll get there.
For Joe English and Ray Torado, I'm Rich Sharp. Thank you for watching 3 Broke Guys Handicapping. Good luck. Good night. Have a good day tomorrow. Good Breeders' Cup to everybody.
All
Good
right.
night.
Enjoy the races, guys.